So an EMP is hit. Do you bug out? When do you bug out? How do you bug out? What should you do? That's what we want to talk about today, and welcome to Integrative Preparedness. For new people here, I'm Steve Smith, the author of the Stonemont series, all about that kind of stuff, about the world coming down as a result of the CME, and the preparing for it, the surviving it, and rebuilding afterwards. The reason that this is going to be part 3 of kind of a series about, well, the first one had to be cut in 2 because I ran long. And then some people asked, well, what are your triggers, Steve? When would you leave? And I thought that was a great question, and it would take longer to write than it would, and this was over on Patreon, by the way, than it would to talk about it. So I thought, well, I'll just make another video on that because I think that it's an important question. Before we get to that, I had a couple of announcements. And if you're new here, by the way, these are important announcements. We often begin the videos with a couple of announcements like this because we're a community here of people who want to teach and people who want to learn. And I had somebody leave a comment in the last couple of days, and they asked a question, and they said, if I'm wrong, please be gentle. Please don't berate me. And I answered them. I said, I don't allow berating here. If somebody is rude to me or one of the commenters or one of our people, they're gone. I get rid of them. This is not a place that people should feel as if, they're hesitant to leave a comment because somebody's going to come on and try to score points on them or act like they know everything. I don't allow disrespect here. So if you're new here, you are in a safe place, as much as I hate that term as it's applied today, but you are in a place to where you can ask questions, you can leave comments that are respectful, and not have to worry about some yahoo coming in who thinks he knows it all is going to tell you all about it, okay, and tell you don't know what you're talking about. Not here. Not. This is like this is my channel, coming into my home, be nice or be gone. But somebody, and also on the Patreon channel, which the link is down below, and I'll say this also, if you want a lot extra and if you're serious about preparedness, I invite you, hope you'll come over to us on Patreon because so much more is over there. Hondo Bob, one of our top tier commenters and contributors over there, has just put up an exceptional series on really understanding EMP. So many people talk about EMP and don't understand it, don't know what they're talking about, and they should stay away from that. I mean, there are certain there are certain topics that I know are very interesting in the preparedness world, and so people talk about them, but they don't know what they're talking about, and they should stop it. But we have people here. Now, I don't claim to know the science behind it. I'm going to be first to say that, but we have people who do. Hondo Bob put up stuff over there that explains it to you, and it's really helpful in knowing how to prepare for it. Now, I know how to prepare for it. I know how to survive it, and I know how to rebuild. But the science, no, that's out of my wheelhouse. That's why, we're fortunate. I don't want to say that's why we have people over there. We're fortunate to have them over there who can explain these things in detail. And there's other people over there besides Hondo that do such a great job giving information. I had somebody else come on. Recently, is no big deal. He wasn't really being rude. He said, well, it took you a long time to get to the point, but it was a great video. And I said, well, you missed the point then, because everything I say is the point. The people who just want to come on and listen, to somebody immediately screaming that the sky is falling and everything like that, this is not the place for them. Listen. If I don't say it unless it's important, but if you don't see something's important, well, you're missing it. Maybe go back and think about it. Okay. We had a comment also from Gary Morton that I thought this was great. And it was about EMP, and it says everybody must prepare. EMP. Everybody. E must M prepare. P. I don't know if he made that up or if this is something that goes around the prepper circles, because I don't watch a lot of other channels and I don't know, but I thought that was particularly interesting. EMP, everyone must prepare, and they must. A final announcement before we get to the triggers about when to boogie is I just put up over on the Patreon channel the Stone Mount level and that's the second level of the Patreon channel, the latest for self-defense, where I start talking about targets, those places on somebody's body that you can access and apply force to come out successfully in an attack situation. Why I don't put these on, I don't put any of that stuff on YouTube. Just like I don't put a lot of gun stuff on YouTube. I don't put mob stuff, organized crime on YouTube. I don't put gun stuff on YouTube. I don't put self-defense stuff on YouTube. I don't put martial arts stuff on YouTube. Simply because there are so many people in the world that think they know and they don't. And they'll come on and they explode the comment section with something that they've read in a magazine and they think, and then I've got to spend all my time clearing those out, correcting them, dumping the comments, whatever, so they won't mislead other people coming on. I'm fortunate that I've had a life that has given me a lot of experiences, and so I talk about things I know, not things that I've read in a magazine or things that I think or things that I make up, but things that I know. And that's how people ought to do it. They should only teach what they know. Okay, not what they've heard. Okay, okay. Now that we've done all of that, let's get to the primary subject of this, and that is somebody asked me. I think it was Mark Harrison, as a matter of fact. And then Triple G said, "Yeah, I'd like to hear that too." So I says, "Well, what are your triggers about when to boogie?" Okay, that is a great question. Now we have to start with, where do you live? Okay. And don't worry, I'm going to bring it back to where I am, using me as an example, but I know that I have to give, I have to cast a broader net because not everybody lives where I live. There are many people out there who, don't need to go anywhere. They already live at their location that they have developed. And, oh, I hear somebody's, hang on half a second. Sorry, that was the business phone you were hearing. So a lot of people already live at their location, and essentially they don't have to bug out because they live at a location that's, fairly secure and they've stocked up and all that. This doesn't really apply to those people, although even they should have in mind a secondary or a third location to go to if their location becomes untenable, and a way to get there, thinking about that. I live in the suburbs, which, we all have different ideas about where we want to live. And I don't crack on anybody who wants to live somewhere different than I do. Although I know there are in the preparedness world people who will call you crazy if you live in the suburbs or the city. Okay? And that's unfortunate. Why do that? Why do that? You live where you want to live. And I'm sure you do for whatever reasons. Most of us live in the suburbs, to be honest. There are far more preparedness people in the suburbs than there are out in the rural areas. It's just, I know that from personal experience. But the thing is, I live in the suburbs, and so what are my triggers? All of a sudden, I wake up one morning, and nothing's on, or everything shuts down like it did in my books. I'll tell you how to get my books in a minute. Everything shut down. Okay, is it now what are the things that I check? Is it just, did somebody run into a utility pole and, take it down? It's going to be a matter of a little while before they fix it. Well, from then on, I'm going to start checking everything. If my lights go out, I'm going to check my cell phone, see what's going. Is it alive? And I can make a call. Is it alive but I can't make a call? How about my vehicles? I'm going to go out and see if I can start all of my vehicles. Okay. Well, maybe the ones in the garage start. Maybe the ones outside don't. Hard to know, right? The first thing you do is pray. The second thing you do is start thinking. You don't start running around and going all crazy. And the reason you pray is because you ask God to direct you, let you know what to do. He will. and to protect you, to guide you, all of those things. If you don't have God in your corner, you're fighting a losing battle. Simple as that. And then you think, and you pay attention. Is there traffic going by? If you read my first book, The Reversion, Jim Wyatt got caught at a barbecue restaurant. Everything went off. He noticed that all of a sudden cars were stalling. This is one of the possible scenarios of an EMP, that many cars would not run. Many would shut down, okay? But some would run. And so he saw many of the newer cars shutting down because they're full of electronics, but some older cars driving by. That's the first thing that gave him an inkling that, I think this is an EMP. Okay, so kind of be aware of those things, and you can watch my other videos if you want to, or go over and go to the Patreon channel and read those excellent posts that Hondo Bob has put in the member posts section. It's in the member post section. Make sure you check that. And be familiar with those things that would indicate that, and then watch. And then the next thing you're going to do is start thinking, okay, if I have to go, if I need to leave, is everything where I need it to be? Do I have running vehicles? Okay, that's your first thing. If your vehicles aren't running, you know you have a problem. That immediately takes you to the next step. That is, or the next decision. If I have to go, I'm going to have to hoof it, or take bicycles or whatever. Do you have enough bicycles for everybody? We've always had a standard rule that we have a bicycle for everybody, plus extras. Because I've always told people, if you're at work, if you can get to my house, come by, get a bicycle, get home. Okay. So what's your mode of conveyance going to be? Okay. You're going to get a lot farther on a bicycle if you decide to leave. Just think about these things. Do you have bags ready? And here your bag system, and I know I haven't made my bag system videos yet. I have kind of a system. The one, a lot of people have go bags or get home bags, things like that. Well, I don't do that. Again, I wrote all about my JIC bag in the books. I have what's called a JIC bag, and we have one for everybody in the family, of course. A JIC, J-I-C, just in case. Okay, it's not just a cut down bag just to get home in a couple of days or a day or something like that, nor is it an extended never coming home bag, but it's something that would allow me to live for an extended period of time. One of these days I'll make these. I have a system. I have a body bag, a grab bag, a JIC bag, and never coming home bag. I'll get around to it one of these days. So that's usually if this is the big suck, if this is the ultimate suck, are we ready to go? And you let everybody know. You communicate with everybody in the family. Well, guys, here's what it looks like. We don't know exactly what's going on yet, but let's start getting our minds in the frame of mind that we're paying attention and we're getting stuff staged in order to scoot the boot if we need to. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is visit with my neighbors and see, what everybody's thinking. I not only want to kind of see if anybody has any more information about it, I want to see their mindset. I want to see who is taking it calmly. I want to see who's, kind of losing it. Now around here, our neighborhood, I know all of our neighbors. I doubt that there's anybody going to be losing it. Probably, at least half of them, probably more than half, will just say, they'll get it fixed. Okay. Those people aren't a danger. You're going to have a few maybe that start to be concerned and start to get a little bit close to the wire, and you want to keep an eye on them. Okay, and then you might have a couple who think more clearly, and those people might be good allies for you depending on what you want to do. Now, of course, the best situation is always staying at home, because that's where all your stored food is, right? That's where all of your preps. I won't get into detail, but the defensive tools and everything like this. Everything you have is at home for the most part. unless you have stuff at other locations, which is always a good thing to have, right? Staged locations, if you want to call them a cache, I don't care. If you want to sound fancy and be French, call it a cache. But we're Americans. Some of us. Most of us are Americans. Whatever you call it in your country is fine with me. To have pre-positioned things where you can pick them up on the way. That's excellent. Most people don't have that. But if you do, good for you. It's not a bad idea at all. But your best choice is always to stay at home. But in a long-term grid down situation, it's going to eventually, and I don't, nobody can say how soon that is, eventually get to the point where it's going to be more dangerous for you to stay at home than it is for you to leave. And your primary danger is going to be not really marauders for the most part. It's going to be your neighbors. There has been this idea for years and years about the so-called golden hordes that will spill out of the cities and come and ravage, through the suburbs and then go out into the countryside and kill people for their turnips. I know the city, and I know the guy that started all that. That was a long time ago. And it's one of those things that people just, because they've heard it and they keep reading it, and they read it over and over again, and then they hear a lot of people on YouTube saying, yeah, this is what's going to happen, and then they read it in other books. People believe it. It becomes a truism as opposed to a truth. Okay. Now, I addressed that again in my first book. Should I show you? We're getting new people all the time, so you probably don't know. My first book was called The Reversion, and this is the Stonemont series, my series of books all about this stuff. In The Reversion, I addressed that when Jim Wyatt was headed home, and he stopped by a police station, and he said, pretty soon, in the next couple of days, you're going to have a city exploding out into this area. And then as I went through the series, I further developed that. And I put that in because that is everybody's first fear of the golden hordes. Most people in the city are going to stay in this. And then I developed and I showed that didn't really happen. But as they started coming out, those who did, they were essentially killed off by the people in the suburbs. Okay. In the inner suburbs, those people who aren't aware of how cities are made, and I can't speak for other cities, I'll talk about Kansas City. There is an urban core, which is, and then there's the bad parts you don't want to go down into. Though they are not coming out. Okay, they're not coming out into areas, especially if their cars aren't working, into areas that they don't know. They will stay there and kill each other and eat each other. That's just the brutal truth. I also talk about that in my books. Some will start to try to come out into areas they think are richer areas and pillage and plunder and things like that. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to get some. Most of them are going to be killed by the people that are in the inner suburbs, because the people in the inner suburbs are not stupid, nor are they weak, nor are they wimps. Most of them pretty tough folks. They just like living in the city. They're city folks, and city folks are tough, and they're smart, and they're fast. And they take very little guff. And so most of those are going to be absorbed and killed, okay, before they even get to the middle suburbs. And then the few that make it out there, they're going to have to deal with the same stuff as the people in the middle suburbs who are even probably more prepared. Okay, they're never getting out to where I live. So that's not really my concern. If you live in an outer suburban belt, that's probably not something you have to be concerned about. What you have to be concerned about are your neighbors. And the thing there is that if you are prepped up, your neighbors are going to run out of food pretty soon, at least those who aren't prepped. Now, I happen to have discovered over the years that I have some neighbors who are well prepped. Okay, but most of them aren't. And as I've said in the past, most people are going to, it's going to take them a week before they run out of all the food they have in their house, and that's including, as I say, the ketchup packets that were shoved in the back of the drawer, and now they're out. But you're not out. You have plenty. Well, those people, when they see that you're not doing as badly as them, they're going to start to get suspicious, or they're going to come to you for help. And as you have talked, and you should not just hold up in your house. as you talked to your neighbors, uh, as this thing started, hopefully you didn't give away the fact of how prepared you are, but also they're going to be able to sense, they're going to be able to see it. People are smarter than a lot of people give them credit for. And they're going to say, the Smiths, they're not doing too bad. What's up with them? They have some extra food. Let me go over. And I mean, you can well understand it. Little Timmy doesn't have any food. I can't let my kids starve. I'm going to go over and see if Mr. Smith has some extra, beans that I can get. And so he's going to come over to Mr. Smith and he's going to ask. And now Mr. Smith has a choice to make. And I'll write about this in my books. I can choose to say no and create an enemy and create somebody who's going to start thinking about how he's going to get it from me, because he's not going to let his kid starve. He loves his kid. He doesn't love me. And in normal times, he wouldn't do it. But these are not normal times. Or you can say yes, and you give him some food. And then, do you have enough food to feed him and everybody he's going to talk to forever? See, those are the two choices. And you don't. And every bit of food that you give away is food you're taking away from your family, and you're increasing the likelihood of them dying from starvation. These are the hard choices. If you say no, they're going to come at you eventually. And what does that mean you're going to have to do? You're going to have to kill them. Now, do you want to kill somebody who's just trying to feed their kids? I don't. Okay. That's why in a fairly short amount of time you have to leave. That's my triggers. When I see that, it's not immediately, it's not, it's an EMP, let's go. No, I'm going to stay around for a while. We're going to get organized. We're going to get the last things. We're going to spend a few days, organizing the things that we want to take with us. I don't have all the family pictures that I would want, and I would want to. And not everything. You can't take everything. Those very important things. And you're going to sit around and you're going to come together as a group, as a family, so that you're all on the same page, so that everybody understands what we're doing. So everybody can pull in the same direction. And then, before it gets to that point, that you have to start killing people to keep them from coming, getting your stuff, you pack up. And then what I would do, totally up to you. If I know I'm probably not coming back, we're going to carry a whole bunch of food. We're going to pack up everything we can. And then we're headed out. And I've talked a little bit about, we don't call them bug out locations. We call them alternative locations. We have two major secondary or alternative locations and waypoints along the way. And I measure those out according to what we can walk in one day. And each one of those spots is a place that if we wanted to stay longer, we could. So I'm not going to get into detail about that right now. Maybe I will later. I don't know. And then I'm going to carry a whole bunch of the food, and I'm going to put it out on my front sidewalk for all the neighbors, because I'm not going to be able to eat it. Okay, we as a family will carry all that stuff out for the neighbors to have, because I'm not going to keep it from them. If I'm not coming back, if it doesn't look like we're going to be back for a while, I'm going to take it out there. Help them. Help as much as you can. But that's me. Other people may feel differently, but I just think that's what you should do. But like I say, that's it. Once you become convinced, and this is why the praying and the thinking come first, you have to have a good understanding and be pretty much convinced of what the situation is. And then you can do what you think you need to do. And then it's time to scoot. So those are my thoughts. Those are my triggers. You leave when staying becomes more dangerous than leaving. It's all about that. And so often, I know that a lot of people say, well, is there one particular thing? No, this is about life. In life, there's no one particular, not usually, sometimes there is, but not usually. Usually there's not one particular thing that makes you make a decision. It's usually a culmination of a number of things and how they fit together and how you think about them. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, anyway, I'll be interested to see what you all have to say. Again, welcome to all the new people. And remember, this is a place that you can leave your comments and not be berated by people. And make sure that your comments are nice too, okay? Because we just have nice people here. Remember to join us over on Patreon for a whole lot of extra stuff. And if you'd like the complete plan for how to prepare for, how to survive in a rebuilding after a complete collapse of everything, in this case an EMP/CME, the Stonemont series, my collection of 6 novels so far, explaining everything. You can either get them on Amazon, who gets to you really quick, or you get them through me. I get them to you slower because sometimes I run out and then I got to reorder. We've just gone through another phase of that, and then I get to sign them for you and I ship them out. That's what I'm going to be spending my day doing today because it's raining outside. I'll be signing a bunch of books and shipping them out. And you can get that through our website, stonemont.us. All those links are down below. So think about what you might do. What are your triggers? This is the existential threat. EMP, CME. Nothing even approaches those big daddies. And remember to come over to the Patreon to see all the stuff that Hondo Bob has put up on the member posts area. It will be an education beyond which you have had before. Okay, and there's a lot of misinformation out there about EMP. You need to know the truth if you're going to be ready for it. So you all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And I'll probably, if there's not an EMP, talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.